அமெரிக்கா நேயர்களுக்கு எங்கள் அன்பு வணக்கம்.
அமெரிக்க நேயர்களுக்கு என் இனிய வாழ்த்துக்கள்.
அமெரிக்கா தொலைக்காட்சிக்கு நெஞ்சார்ந்த நன்றி.
வணக்கம். நீங்கள் பார்த்துட்டு இருக்கிறது அமெரிக்கா தொலைக்காட்சி. அமெரிக்கா வாழ் தமிழர்களுக்காகவே தொடங்கப்பட்ட ஒரு தொலைக்காட்சி.
நீங்கள் பார்த்து கொண்டிருப்பது அமெரிக்கா சேனல்.
feel is for any human being to be like, the first thing you ask them, they say, I want to be happy, right? So that's all they ask for. Whether they're rich or poor, doesn't really matter. In any country you are, in developing country or in advanced countries, that's the basic thing. You guys say, I want to be happy, right? So always I tell my children too, three things you need in life. Like one is the physical independence, financial independence, and emotional independence. But unfortunately, because of various factors, women tend to become dependent on men, whether at the early days that they're dependent on their father, or they are become dependent on their husbands, and even in many cases they're dependent even on their own brothers, right? So anytime when there is a dependency, that's when the power play comes into, even at work or even at home. Anytime when you feel that you are inferior, or you've been made feel inferior, or somebody tells indirectly, passively that they are superior, that's when the violence kind of starts. So I would just say, in many homes, you would say, we've dealt with, me and my wife have dealt with many women's issues. The Some women would just say, like, we are so fortunate because our husbands have given us the freedom to do what we want. See, that itself is such a most demeaning statement, right? My husband has given me the freedom to do it, right? And then, one of my friends, she used to be a vice president, and she's still a vice president of one of the major corporations. She was the only one in the entire table out there talking. Guy said, like, it was a very important address. It was a very hard situation. The guy came and like, guys, let's put our hands and get this stuff. It shows that, if you are a man, then you have the power done. You enough to do it. So even in actually, you would ask, who is in this? Which means that I, the decision at home, seen in families, decision is okay, but our decision is the power play. So I feel that is kind of, people have been brought to sweat exactly. In here tend to fight that women, because we haven't, it's such a in the Western society. We talk about independent cross. Still, we are not ready to elect a president. The reason I would see, like, the other side, when you do it outside, yes, there are problems because the policies have been made. They're not women centered. Their advantages are in. Even more think about it, most major don't have as leaders for me for 1,000 years. So home rule and everything are in by then, obviously bias. It will be men, so it was okay to for women is for the of. So the things are the following religion and is science that made. I think that really found passive start and get out of and violent.
So thank you for the wonderful Mr. Bala. I have a question. Would you like to answer this question?
Thank you, and thank you for inviting us to this beautiful discuss something very hard. But thank you for bringing up so many points that are still relevant. It's a lot I grew up in Napa, all about men. It's all about how we manage things. I say that mostly we allow things to happen. We allow the society, women allow it, we just group it, we and we normalize. So we have been, and recently about from this, even my parents work just eliminating this, and they have been working really hard on making awareness. However, we still have issues where we tolerate violence and not really physical violence, we don't tolerate it anymore. At least people are starting to speak up. But I'm talking about the emotional and the intellectual part of it, where we do microaggressions, we do, like Malachi was saying, these statements that have been forever in our vocabulary, and we don't change it. And we don't tell people that that's not right. And to be able to say, stop, that's not right. Can you just think it again? And I think that that is what is the changing that is happening. But now it's about also the silence. And that's what I have seen with some of my clients, where silence has been playing a big role of it. So they are ashamed, they feel guilty, they feel that it's their fault that it happens to them, and they don't want to speak up because they are ashamed. So I think that having that space where you normalize violence, it could be psychological violence, it could be verbal, it could be financially depressing, to say, okay, so if you don't do that, then I will not give you the support that you need. So there are so many power rules that goes around. But mainly I'll say that silence is perpetuating this through generations. So we allow it, we just simply don't say anything, and then it goes from one generation to another. If we are raising male kids in our family, they see it and they feel that it's normal. So it becomes that it's okay. It's okay to talk to the ladies that way. It's okay to treat them that way. It's okay. It's normal. So what are you talking about? That's not even questionable. So I'll say that those are some of the points, Raji, that I feel that basically are just occurring.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's a great point that you touched as well. So next I'm going to ask Soroya. Would you like to answer this question? Please unmute your mic.
Sorry, I think Zoom fatigue. Thank you, Raji, for supporting and bringing us all together. And Balaji and Olga they've said it all. And I just want to say also reiterate what they said. There is no single factor that can explain gender-based violence in our societies. So rather, there are a myriad of factors, and all these factors interplay. But I want to also say it comes under 4 headings. In my understanding, I'm thinking there's cultural, that is the patriarchal and sexist views that legitimize violence against women. And that's what Balaji was talking about and Olga endorsed, So this gives men the patriarchy, the dominance and superiority, So and there's this normative expectation. Oh, you are a woman, you be that, and the socialization of gender is very dangerous in our communities. Then we can talk about cultural, then legal. Being a victim of gender-based violence is perceived in many societies as shameful and weak, with many women still being considered guilty of attracting the violence. So this perpetuates that also. Then quickly, I think economic is also very important in that the lack of economic resources. Generally, women, this makes them very weak, vulnerable to violence. And lastly, I would say political, the underrepresentation of women in power and politics means that there are fewer opportunities to shape the discussion and offer change in policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Soroya. Next, I would like to invite Sable. Can you unmute your mic, please? Yeah, thank you. Please.
Thank you so much, Raji, for creating this space and for bringing us all together to really talk about this issue and understand what the causes are and how this can be prevented, for our children and for the generation to come. And a lot of things has been said, and all is true. And I myself, being a victim, I do understand very well, and definitely most of it also it comes from the society and the culture. And I was born and raised in Ethiopia, but it didn't happen to me back home. It happened to me in Europe while I was in Europe. And of course, I have been silent for many, many years. And I thought at the beginning it was my fault. Or, it is for men, it's a kind of thing to be done. It's just a right thing to do because this is the way they show their masculinity, right? So it is perceived in a different ways, in a different cultures. So, and I also thought at the beginning, it is my fault. I must have done something wrong to attract this. And, but, by the time that I realized it was not my fault, I was able to forgive myself first and to forgive the other person, right? So, yes, we have a lot of work to be done. And it has a lot of consequences on the victims who have been through this. And I see it in myself. I become very hysterical sometimes looking at my daughters. I have 2 beautiful daughters, and I am extremely worried whenever they go. Mm-hmm. Maybe they will be the next victims. And really, I'm not trying to, to be a mother that's always there to protect them, but I'm trying to equip them, as much as I can. And it's very difficult. And it has a negative consequences on them as well sometimes, but I'm very open and I shared all my story. And so, yeah, right. We have a lot of work to do, and it has, we'll get there, but we have to be part of it, and we can be, as a society, men and women, all of us together. It's not something that touches only women, and we have to work. I'm really happy to see Balaji here, and they're doing, a nice work. And yeah, so I have hope. I have hope things will change.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing openly. And the next time inviting Subhangi Siva, would you like to contribute anything to this question, please?
Thank you, Raji, and thank you everyone here who joined. And great insights that shared by Balaji, Olga, Soraya, and Sable, especially like she herself, victim. She's been through this experience of having a gender-based violence. This is, to begin with why it's happening. We don't even identify sometimes this as a violence. It's just like a normal thing to begin with, right? Certain things like at home, it starts from childhood, and they say if a boy do something, oh, don't be a girl. This is, why are you doing girl's job? Like, sweeping and cleaning and cooking. This is girl's task. It's not a boy thing. Crying, they say, why are you crying like a girl? And always it starts from such a young age. And we all think that's very normal. It's nothing wrong with that. And that's how the man has, the boy has to become a man, and then that's how they show their power, and you have to be tough, and they have to be in the society like that. So I totally agree. And Balaji brought many great things, who wears the pants. And it's true. Till today, I hear these terms. People have been using that. So thank you for the opportunity. And we will go ahead with our workshop and have many more insights to come, I believe. Thank you, Raji.
Thank you, Subhangi. Thank you for all our panelists. Actually, the first question, we started with so many insights. So we can move to the next question. So violence can take many forms, like including sexual harassment in the workplace or in public spaces. We all have to take a stand, calling it out when we see it. But catcalling, inappropriate sexual comment or sexist joke and are never okay. But seems like many of are accepting and moving, with that. But the next question I'm going to ask you that what situations are women most likely to experience it? So who would like to go with this first? Okay, Olga, please. Okay, after Olga, Balaji, you could continue.
Okay, Balaji. We complement each other. So I think that the situation, more than the situation, is where do we put ourselves and where are we normally? So when we look into where the events happen most of the time, it's at home. So it's not that you have to go very far. So it happens since we are very, very small, when we're being either yelled at or treated differently. I can recall being said, "Oh, no, it's your job, it's okay." But it was my brother who did it. No, he never do that. So even the 9, so we like, so the home starts is the first one. So it's the first place where most of the events happen, and it's a place where women cannot escape. We cannot go somewhere else, and that sadly happened for the majority of the events. Then it happens also when we walk. It's just, we are just exposed, right? And in some countries we're really, really exposed. So depending on where you go, if you walk alone, then you have more chances that somebody can actually have overpower you, like just physically, just because of the way that our body has been built. I'm not saying that other women are not very strong. I know many that can actually take men down, but the vast majority of us, we don't have that physical strength. We learn how to defend ourselves, but we get put into situations where we're more vulnerable. So we're carrying bags where most of the time men don't. So if you're in the market and you're carrying your bag, you have one hand that is less. So you have one hand that you cannot use to defend yourself. So there are little things that like that we don't even realize that are part of it. So it makes us more vulnerable. But I will say that it mostly happens at home. It happens at school or university or places, and in some cases it happens at work. For some women, they get harassed at work. There has been a lot of work that we have done at the organizational level to bring awareness and say, hey, speak up. That's not right. And it takes a lot of effort and strength for a woman to come back and just to go forward and say it. But I will say that also for men, that they get harassed and be able to actually step up and say, hey, I have been harassed, and for them to be believed. So I think that that's both sides of the equation when we talk about gender. Go ahead,
Thank
Balaji.
you. Thank you so
Alright.
much, Balaji. Please continue.
No, absolutely. I think I agree with that 100%, because I think the violence starts at home. Because outside now we have many parties, certain rules, and everything is protecting you from outside. At work, you are protected mostly, right? It depends on whether it's a corporate world or like a small scale business or for outside help when her husband is around. And especially things have gone up during this COVID situation, because men are working from home. It was very hard for them to even find time to call somebody, because when they have to call 911, it going to an extreme case. But before going to the extreme case, they wanted to get some ideas. They want to say like how they can protect themselves. We have seen in many cases where women would call us like, can I call you in this particular time? Can I to talk? Right? So they are not even safe within their own homes. So I think Olga said it like perfectly right. That is where it starts, because we are even normalizing the behavior at home. As when kids have been grown up, we need to do better parenting. Like when we raise our boys, we need to raise them better to say like, how we respect women. I've seen many people, make some very nasty comments about women. And when I ask them, like, if that was your sister or that was your mother, would you be happy to make the same statement? They would say, but they are not. See, that's attitude they have. So it's with home, and then with all getting more in the political will change.
Thank
to
you
start
so
with.
much. Valuable point you shared already, both of you. Even would you like to continue?
Yeah, I actually want to say those it goes as an addition to that. Sometimes we remember we are interested in looking good or not. We are great son. in order to really to bring a strong intervention, teaching youth, especially our sons at very age, respectful and not violent towards women is very critical.
That's true. Very true. Thank you so much. Anyone else? So, go ahead, please.
Yes, I totally agree. And when is usually, like Balaji said, and is usually in private place or school. That is the case most of the time. This it happens in the cultures. Yeah.
Thank you, Subhangi. So, so then we can move on to the next.
If you mind.
Yeah.
So, Baki, you brought up a very good point on how do we raise our voice, and I'll say, let's add how do we raise our voice. They understand none of this is they to speak no to speak to me that I respected. So also important we each respect. So we respect I am valuable, I am special, and not to be the rock of anyone. I think this is also very, very good.
Thank you. Thank you. Violence against girls, the human rights violation in perpetuation for decades. So I can it is not acceptable. This question to Roya, like violate gender violence.
Thank you for that. I think it's a very heavy loaded question. Violence against women and girls is one of the most human rights violations take place every day, times over in every corner of the globe. People who experience violence come from different human rights violations: economic, social, cultural, civil, political, personal. I'll give an example. Let's say, for instance, physically unbeaten. I said I given this example many times, but this brings home the story about why the situation is bad for women affected by violence. So physically beaten, and you might read it in the newspaper. Say, for instance, Roy. So every who is Roy? 2 years later, you might Soraya beaten by Roy. Now Roy was at the front of the news has gone to the end. And another report might say Soraya was beaten. Now Roy is nowhere in the scene. And then they will go to the next level report as Soraya is bad. And Soraya finally became better. So this is the state of the media and side of who play a critical role in trying this to prevent, to minimize this. So because of that beating, Raji or everybody, we know because of that beating, let's say it was a really bad, I'm heavy bruised arm, and the human rights positions that impact me is my right to life is taken away. Then my right to freedom from torture and grading treatment, that's a human right violation that is being violated. As a result, the degradation in more religious circles, FGM, female genital mutilation, honor killings. You have to keep the honor of the family and the faith, so therefore you behave this way, we have to kill. In Pakistan, for a year, thousands of women are subjected to honor killings. This is proven, and these statistics are available. Then child marriage, we have economic needs, and that becomes a goal in family. And child marriage, human rights violations, rape. These are human rights violations. So that beating, I have lost them from discrimination. The safety and security, they are human rights that been violated. Gender equality is a human right. We know the Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 5, gender equality. I mean, just imagine it's the goal number 5. It's so highly important. And then as a result of that beating, there's domestic violence and psychological and emotional violence towards me. So my health is also affected. That's a human right. These are some of the few human rights violations that are impacted by gender-based violence. And we all know the UDHR, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the milestone, and it was framed in 1940. And in 500 languages, you have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And it's the most translated document in the world. And it inspired constitutions and many new democracies, that it has neglected women's, not the doc itself. People are not ready enough to read human rights. And then we have to read the other document is SEDA, Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, adopted in 1979. I think this is really way more comprehensive declaration, because it ensures elimination of all acts of discrimination against women by persons, organizations, and by enterprises. So the term is primarily used, the gender-based violence is used to refer to structural gender-based power differences and puts women and girls at risk of multiple form violence. Sometimes we even say live by choosing to leave because the situation gets so bad. So these are some of the human rights violence, and he said only 3 minutes. So I have to stop now.
Thank you, sir. It's a question, but you tried very nicely. Thank you. And Balaji, I hand would you like to add something to this, please?
Sorry, so she because it's very high level of the right violation, right? So I'm looking at from based on our experience, what we have dealt with, how many we have spoken to. On human rights, women are, driven of their financial independence, even though they're educated, they're working really well in a position, but they don't have control on their. So they are completely dependent on men to do it, even for a pedicure, manicure. They have their husbands. Can I borrow money? I've personally seen. So I've seen. The second piece is sexual abuse. It is given, and then they can't even go and then tell it to others. In many families, when they discuss, it is okay to adjust. Seen people where they say, as soon as you bear a child, it'll be fine, it'll be okay. But it's not. I mean, women have been used as sexual objects. In one instance, I would like to say, I know it is very hard, but it's true. This guy would watch television news channel while he's, having sex with her. So she would feel that, completely let down. So that's the level of, women have been violated, from a sexual abuse aspect too. From even when they wanted to leave. So the biggest question comes up is how do they know when to leave is the question. It's easy for us to say, probably Sebel would agree, she was abused in the past. When would she realize that, I should step out of this relationship? So it is very hard, especially women when they're coming from, to a different country on an immigrant visa. They come on a dependent visa. All their friends and families are all through their husband. And then they're completely dependent. So if they leave, especially when they have a child, it's so hard for them because they are on dependent visa. They can't work. Financially, they'll be completely dependent on the husbands. They're going to be taken away. The child can be taken away from them. All that immigration status can be cancelled. So all these things put women at a very, very, very tough situation. And the biggest thing is, as I said, when to draw the line and then when to make the decision, enough is enough. Because when we hear stories about like a woman has been abused for 10 years, we would just say, why didn't you come out? It's high time you come out, but they cannot. So I would just say like a really good, in the Chinese analogy they have, when you throw a tadpole in hot water, it jumps off immediately. But when you throw a tadpole in like a regular cold water and then slowly lit the fire under it, very slowly, the water becomes lukewarm for them. And then eventually by the time it's to boiling state, the tadpole cannot jump because it's so used to it. That is where I see many women's condition are, because very slowly the abuse starts. So by the time they relax and then they want to realize to come out of it, they don't have the strength, they don't have the energy. Every single step, they're so paranoid about it. So as Soraya said, human rights is at the top level, but underneath that one, financially, sexually, physically, there are so many, in privacy perspective, they can't even have privacy to talk to their own friends or parents or sisters. They can't even talk to them. Everything will be monitored. And so that is where, it is a complete human right violation you can just name anything underneath that in the name of, gender abuse, that's everything will be applicable there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Balaji. I think we'll continue to talk, and small action can make big impact to end the violence against women. So everyone has a role to play. The next question that I'm going to ask, what are ways to help prevent gender-based violence against women? Subhangi raised the hand. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, hi, Raji. Thank you again. Yes. When we are talking about the causes and how we prevent, the prevention is better than once the violence happened and dealing with that, right? So we put effort. So that's what we are doing here today also. Advocacy work is one of the prevention measure. When it comes to violations, I'm just going to touch base with just what Balaji said about monitoring. There are certain violations, but when it comes to this, when I say, for example, signs of violence, it's really, really hard sometimes to clearly say, okay, this is, because you will never have it in a box and label, okay, this is an abuse or this is a violence. There is no clear cut for these things because it will be masked and hidden in certain ways. For example, monitoring, continuous monitoring and continuously preventing and discouraging from from talking to friends or family or going out. That can be said as, well, I'm worried about your safety and I care about you. It can be coded in a very loving, caring, in a way it will be manipulated like that. For example, and also jealous. Some partners can be overly jealous and that also can be because he really loves me or she really loves me. That interpreted as, so there's a fine line finding between that. And the other thing is demeaning and insulting appearance and all that. That becomes normal. Hey, listen, we are like one family. Like, what is the big deal? We're just joking. That's in a close circle. It's just, and it's accepted. And in front of the children, sometimes fathers do that or mothers do that. It goes both ways. It's accepted because it's just in the family circle. But we forget that our children are learning from us. And this is the way to communicate with your husband or wife. And the other thing is sometimes anger issues. Husband, sometimes when you do something small and they become suddenly very angry or temper problems. And we say, oh, you know what? Oh, dad is very stressed today. Or he's, overloaded with work. It's normal. It's okay. And then he'll be okay. Half an hour later, he'll be fine. It's okay. And everything will resume back to normal. So this is considered as normal. So these things, these are signs. They are in front of us. It's happening. We see that. We acknowledge. But then they will be masked and sugar-coated in a different way. as love, as care, in many forms, and financial. Like just like Balaji says, that oh, they don't even have access to money, because then the other partner might say, listen, because I'm just being careful with finance. That's all, because it's for us, our family, it's our own future. I'm taking care of it. I'm managing it for us, and then you buy that and you think, oh, okay. But then if you pay more attention, you might maybe notice a double standard happening when it comes to their turn to expense, or when how their money is gone. Sometimes they don't even have access to it, how they're spending money, but that's a different story. So these kind of signs are there, but it's very, very difficult to identify it and come to term, okay, this is it. These are the things. And also like educating our young children. According to statistic, it says age 19 to 24 are more exposed, 5 times more to this, exposed to this gender-based violence. So I think that is the right age that we have to, for the teenagers and young children, to identify these signs when they are starting dating and going out. And if the partner says, hey, you don't wear this doesn't look good on you, and you're good with the long hair or short hair, you're too fat, like, make comments like that. And so this is a nice way to, like, when you're young, when they're very young, you explain them and you teach them and educate them to prevent these things, and they'll be more aware. And everything starts from home at the end of the day. And yes, and that's all that, my point of view.
Thank you, Subhangi. Very well said. Anyone would like to contribute this question?
Yes.
Soroya, go ahead, please.
I want to add, as we talk here, we don't want to seem insensitive and, offer solutions. These are very deep personal problems. So many people are stuck. I hope people who are listening, people who are going into a relationship, be aware of the signs, as Subhangi just said. If there's a control mentality, and people who are in the situation, what I say is, you have to really value yourself. You have to really value yourself and really determine, is this worth it? And then even as we take that personal journey, I think our governments need to be more responsible to prevent this. I think action at a national level is highly essential. I don't know how many governments intentionally allocate money, funds, and have a clear plan for gender advancement. I mean, I work in Sri Lanka, I work in Nigeria, I work in Bangladesh. Access to subsidized or free education, employment. These are important. And above all, I have to say, if our society there are women are abused, there's something radically wrong in our society. So we have to get to the root of the problem. And as we navigate this challenge, to the women particularly, I say, your children are watching. So be very careful how you navigate this challenge. Don't be mindful of the emotional abuse and scarring that you are going through, that you're going to now hand over to your children. So we have to, as I said, we have to not focus on the consequences, but we have to take a break and focus on the causes.
Thank you. Thank you, Soroya. Balaji, go ahead, please.
Sure. I think both Soraya, like, to share our views, like, in terms of science, like, how women avoid it. The first thing which means is try to hire males. So in living in apartment, they have keys. So the men have no idea what goes on. So that also talks about the bank statements, the financial statements. Women have no idea about finances, even for working women, completely to hands on. Thing to look for is rescuing our freedom. Not to anybody. You say this, can't say that. This is not just like, they're trying to control. The piece, even for sexual, abuse, any type of, constant fear, that is not the end. It is going to be, increasing day by day. So you need to nip it in the bud, like very early days. This behavior cannot be operated. So those four. Now, other part is, what else can be done? As very well said, can put a nice color coding saying in their interest. We don't know how to define this is for our family and everything to do. Women should, whether they are inclusive in those decisions. Finance can be handled by husband, handled too. Are you in positions? Are you clear of what exactly is going on? So in case it happens, at least you know, because right blindfolded in the name of trial, but background verify. The one, are you being in family? Are you taking all the decisions? That is where the easily taken decision for women.
Thank you. Thank you for valuable point to that. So, Sable, would you like to share something, or we can move to the next question?
I think we can move to the next question.
Okay, thank you. The next question, it's going to be continuous the previous question. What are ways to help victims of gender-based violence in the future? Directing this question to Olga, then whoever like to answer, please raise your hand, then we can go from there.
Thank you, Raji. So I think helping women that have been, or anybody who has been under a violent situation, the first thing is listen to them, acknowledge them. Even if you have your own judgments, even if you have your own biases, just listen to them, because behind everybody else's story, there is some truth. And the first thing that they really need is somebody who believes them, somebody who can actually say, let me hear your story, let me see what I can do for you. The next thing that I feel that you can actually help is, let's encourage our girls at least to have a sign to tell us that if something is wrong, you're there to them, to help them. Part of what I have seen is most of the mothers don't even listen to their daughters. So they just ignore it. They say, you're just making too much of a deal of it. You're being too fussy. And I think that that's something that we need to start changing. Just awareness, make sure that you know that is there, and get help. So the help is, it could be a coach like me, or it could be a psychologist. There is Canada has a lot of programs that we can actually access. There is a lot of women's shelters that provide a lot of help for any women that has any situation where they need it. And most importantly is to regain their confidence. After all of this has happened, it's already happening. So you acknowledge it, you have to go there. There are processes that you're going to have to go through that. And like Seville was sharing with us, you have to forgive yourself for either being silent, for feeling guilty, for feeling shame. So all of those natural feelings are you need someone to give you a hand, get shelter, get people like Balaji that has this organization where they help people to women that to just regain the confidence and get educated. Just make sure that you actually have all the education that you can have so you can have your independence to think, to speak, and to work and make your own decisions.
Thank you. Thank you, Olga. So, Bangi, the floor is yours.
Yes, I totally agree with Olga, because when it comes to gender-based violence or abuse, everyone deals with differently. There is no one solution, or there's no one way. This is the way. It's not like a formula there. Everyone wired differently. Everyone deals with that differently. So when it's come to them, what we can do is, and like I said, we have to be judge-free. We have to be judge-free, and we have to like, how can I help them? And believe them. Believe them is, instead of asking, what did you do? What makes them, maybe post this relationship, post this, it's so in like that, you just leave your mind and ask him for you. Instead of like and how to do, but you should out the time the decision and help them make their own decision. Because when it comes to gender-based violence, it can be very, very confusing, very traumatic. It just make the situation complicated. So whoever is helping, it can be organization, individuals, you can be a sister, brother, whoever, you have to be patient. Sometimes the family need help and they and then you why are you into this? So this we have to be very open-minded, really keeping in our mind. Every goes different and they make it differently. And, so we have to, when it comes to this so one day as time sometimes how that to them.
Thank you. Balaji, please go ahead.
Sure. Olga and Subhika kind of highlighted, how we can. So based on our experience, like we times, is the key part. Listening is most important thing. In fact, I think some read why people go to God and then talk. Maybe because God doesn't talk back. He's just listening, or she is just listening, right? So it is the most beautiful thing when people go to temples or churches or wherever the place of worship is. They tend to let their emotions out there because nobody's interrupting them. Like people are just letting them listen to it completely. So that is one of the best things. In fact, our neighbor, she's a very old lady, June. When we moved into this neighborhood, our daughters were like very little. And she said, it's so easy to raise children because all you have to do is listen to them. But just keep listening. Like whatever they say, listen to them. So when it comes to domestic violence victims or gender-based violence, listening is the key part. But also on the other end, look out for signs, right? Women may be afraid to talk to you, because they don't know whether you are friends of her husband. We need to look for those signs and then see, like, can another woman go and talk to them? So that is also the most important thing. In Mitra, where our, helping the first generation immigrant women on the battered women's side, our model is we do not advise them what to do. We just listen to them fully based upon what their condition is, because they may be educated. We need to look at their immigration status. They have a job, do they have children, and whether they have the financial backing. So all those things we check, and then based upon that one, we just come up with what are all the different options there are for them. Then let them make the decision. So for each option, we explain to them what are all the pros and cons. It is not, we don't tell them at all. Our goal is like, let them make an informed decision. We can walk them through every step out there. So that way, even when they make the decision, it's not like, I don't know what to do, but you're telling me this is the right thing for me. But never make those decisions out there. You have to feel that this is the right thing for you to do, because you're going to live with this decision. So you have to make sure you are informed, you're educated, so that way you make the right choice for you. Whichever way choice you make, we will support you. Because in some instances, I've seen women go against our suggestions, like, we know that they're making a mistake. And then a few years later, they say, like, can I come back to US? Because they've lost the green card status. Because the BAVA Act, it's already gone after 2 years. They cannot get the green card back. So at sometimes, you have to let them go, because you have to make the choice for them. The other piece, I know people say we're crazy to do this stuff. For many years, we have women in our house, battered women, when they come out of shelter, they don't have any place to go. we have, right from my biological daughters, we have 32 daughters. Our biological daughters are here, and they have seen women being in our house other than family, just to recoup and rebounds from there. That is the most important thing we can do. Listening is one, helping them is one, but how can we give a family setup for them so that way they can easily bounce back? That is the most important thing, because we tend to be afraid of, how can I let a stranger inside the house? Not all strangers are bad, but there may be one or two, but trust but verify. Like, how do we do that? Instead of getting worried that what, this person can do something bad for me, we are losing 98% of the cases where they really need some help. So you bring them, you just bring them under your umbrella, give the that family setup for them, they bounce back really fast. I've seen many women, like, they have absolutely no education or job, but they can stand on their legs immediately. It is such the most important thing you need to do, that at home help, or at least make them feel that you are there for them anytime, whether through friends or family, wherever they are, they can stay safe. That is the most important thing, because I've seen many women where they go to a shelter and they're abused out there. So providing a very safe environment for them at home, and also listening to them, and then let them make an own decision, a well-informed and well-educated decision by themselves, that goes a long way. And also look for signs. Don't wait for them to come and tell you that I have a problem, right? Small signs where, even in a group get together, I trust you, many, challenge you in many ways, where even in our group gathering, you would see, like, there will be a couple of them are abused right now, but they are very afraid to come and explain it to you or express their thing to you. So look out for the signs. That's the key part.
Thank you, Balaji. Soroya, please go ahead.
Yes, so I also want to quickly add, Balaji, you have raised the bar for every one of us. You are walking the talk. Thank you. And and also to say, when Olga said this word listen, even I stood up. I sat firmer, because this is one thing we don't all do well. When somebody comes and tells us, we try to give advice, we try to fix it, or we try to tell another story, or we distract, or we say, especially the family will always say, no, go back, try to make it up. So on that note, I really want to encourage women, always have a closer friend, a confidant, with whom you can share when the problem starts brewing. Otherwise, you break this news one fine day when all hell has broken loose and people are even skeptical about you. So you have to kind of build your case. I mean, you have to be strategic, because I think when women complain, we have to believe them. Because for a long time, they will put up and shut up. And then when they start speaking, that means they have, there's a point of no return. They have taken too much abuse. They're stronger in a sense. So the women who are listening, I just want to tell you, share with somebody. I mean, there's also the fear of gossip and, the breach of confidence, but find one or two close friends and go for a cup of coffee, share your ideas and strengthen yourself and to what is happening or to what needs to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Surya. Sybil, would you like to share anything to this, please?
Yes, absolutely. So many good things have been said, and it's all true. And me being a victim myself, and what helped me to go through this and to get where I am today is having people so listening is really that hurt me a lot. So as what, why did I do that? Because I wanted to go and get out of all my emotions without having told, well, you better do this. So why did you do that? So listening is a key. From my experience, also from people that I know who went through this similar issues. Truly listening is a key point. And of course, as you say, Balaji, giving them all the options, everybody has to make a decision based on, informed decision. So putting out all the options on the table without telling them, well, you know what, get this, you should better go to this direction. So, yeah.
Thank you. Olga raised your hand. Please go ahead.
And it's more like balance, like talk about the want to make sure we act respect the make. So if you their decision, support them no matter what. You might disagree with what decision you might get different because you have a dick. But that any by you without a big mistake, it's okay. Let's see what else can go. Say, oh, I so. If you have if you no respect this and them to what of those are because they need somebody and so that they need that person, they need that person that they can come to you and they can feel safe. They can feel that they can be whoever they are without influence.
Again, I have you that. Definitely, like some people who is getting to the cycle of violence, they have hard time coming out of it. They go seek help, someone from Baji help, and you really know mistake, and then they go back. Yes, I said physical violence. Somebody hitting you, hurting you, you're bleeding, it's in the physical. It will be easier to make when it's type so emotional violence. Get out because then your mental maybe you will those may play after a while. After a long time you're solution or easy way out or just the formula, or as we outsider we think, hey, come on, this is clear. What is the problem? Because probably someone in the field helping those women, they in and out, they're seeing so many and they know the end result. But for that person or that woman or that when they let them respect their decision, let them take that decision and let them come back to you if they still need any assistance, right? And yeah, I totally agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Many so can have almost affect. We're talking about a lot now, but continue to that we can discuss on this question like what makes we stay in violent relationship. Basically, no, they are in a trap, but still they are staying. So, Baji, would you like to go first?
Sure. As I said before, a tadpole, it is there for them to is are they really getting abused? And because other economic conditions, immigration conditions, children, it's very hard for them to come out. Will I survive? I have seen even now helping one of the women. She is the relationship because she's that she cannot of the relationship. Her husband had multiple affairs, going to, paid sex. She knows everything, but she is not financially stable or emotionally she can take it up. So she says, but I am stuck, I cannot go out on my own. For consumer, maybe just they start independent, physically, emotionally, or independent. It's very hard for them because they don't equip independent, and that is the case that was at a young age. Because my parents, in fact, educated both my sisters more than our, boys. So it is not right by design, but it that way there was no restriction, preference. The boys need to be educated, or the girls went to the doctorate, became a surgeon. Is by choice. Parents that women need to be very independent. So at the moment they become independent, those things will automatically change. Education is the key. Being independent is the key. So because I see, like, all of you guys up here, you have definitely, have crossed all those barriers. Soraya said she's worked in Pakistan, where, the society, the differences could be there, but still coming out of it itself is like the bold step. So the moment you come out of the dependency, I think you should be able to come out of this one fairly easily. Otherwise, it is going to be really hard. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Balaji. Next, Olga.
Balaji, I love the fact that you're talking about dependency, because there is one dependency that we haven't spoken too much, and it's about the need to be loved. So it's a basic need. And sometimes love can be misinterpreted. So the fact that I have somebody who is with me, giving me attention, even if it's negative attention, it feels like love. It feels like I'm important. You know what? Maybe I'm just, the fact that he just looked at me and slapped me is because, you know what? He noticed me. He was there. So sometimes that happens psychologically. It happens, the brain is just hijacking you to say, hey, he loves you, really? And this is the reason why he's saying this. So it's okay. Even if it's not the caress that you were expecting, at least you're not being ignored. And that's a normal situation for a human being. It happens to kids. They will rather be beat up than be ignored. So they will rather misbehave to get attention instead of being ignored. And then for anyone who has been through psychologically abuse or physical abuse or verbal abuse, it's a way of being noticed, it's a way of feeling that they're being loved. So sometimes that's the reason why it's so hard for them to leave it, because they don't feel that they can actually get someone who loves them for who they are. And this is the kind of love that they're used to have. So it's important that we sometimes remember that there is one need, and it's a human need of being loved, being seen, and being heard. And the reaction of whoever is abusing them is a sign for them to be seen. And sometimes they feel that that's love, because that's what they saw at home, or that's what they have seen in over generations, right? So yeah, my great-grandmother used to say, oh, it's okay, he's jealous, so because he loved me, right? So he loves me because that's why he's jealous. And because he loves me, like Subanki was just sharing with us earlier, oh, he loves me, so then he controls my finance because he loves our family. So in our brain, women are more like, we tend to be more caring. It's part of our nature, it's part of how we are. I mean, men are caring too, but then the nurturing part of it is part of what we are. And then it's a way of feeling that you're fulfilling that need through a different mean. So we have to be also aware of that. That's one of the reasons why they don't leave.
Thank you. Soraya, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. So we touched on economic necessity, love. Then, of course, some people stay in abusive marriages because of children. We touched on that. And then there's shame and intimidation. Society won't accept a woman without the husband. But I want to really touch on this poor self-esteem. And
that most of the time statistics says the most dangerous time for the woman is the time that she decides to leave. So this is very, it can be life-threatening. Maybe they will, if you leave, that I will kill myself, even not even killing you, I'll kill myself, and I will kill your pet, or I will, or children or family like members. So those type of abuse, like this is killing you is one thing, and then emotionally threaten you another thing. That it be very, and some men also because strongly believe that keeping the family together. So I at any cost, and I have to sacrifice happiness, my whatever abuse that is going on, that I have to put up with that and stay in there because I have to put it together from whatever reason. This is something that we have very careful when they make those decisions. We think for children, according to statistics, again, it shows children who witness violence at home, they are twice as risk as the psychiatric brothers and who raised in the family home. So there's all different angles that we have to look in whatever decisions. When someone comes to it, and if they're coaching people in the field dealing a victim coming for help, they probably have to give a really full picture of what statistic and how it was. Then providing them with full, they take it, not take them, but take everything, and it will help to take the correction. If someone like, oh, I'm speaking to the family.
Thank you. Would you like to do this question, please?
Swanky stated it's really, that many of you say too, as, women who are really in this position are also to have low esteem and the judgment from society, and trying to keep family at any cost, not realizing that the impact that will have on the children is even worse than who going through this abusive relationship. So I think it is very important to have in mind. And of course, we are not guys to make the for an decision has to be by everybody. That really to and explain the topics available, and also to explain the consequences. They go through to make clear, to be wait for them to have to see, of course, in the seat one of the important thing in any case. It could not one alone, this is something that we haven't discussed, but especially in country that we don't know a lot of people, and it is a cultural thing too. You will be outcasted by the community. So, there's so many things play so you just have to be able to listen, and also sometimes the show would come from the community, but that be very, very dangerous. And you do so many things, taboo in the community. So those are the things we have to look at. So many things.
It's okay. Thank you so much.
I have a quick question from Balaji. The shelter
Like, I would just say many success stories. I would just say two things I wanted to highlight, or two instances I would say. One, a woman, she was married for the third time. As a third wife, she was married. The guy was, in Pennsylvania. He was married twice, and then this girl was literally abused, taken away all her belongings. She was coming from a very poor family, and definitely kudos to the law enforcement. Even though we live in, in New Jersey, so I was able to make a call to that particular township police station. They were so kind and helpful. Even they haven't seen us. They immediately went in the middle of the night to check on the status of her. Nobody was at home. So the deputy called me back. I was dropping my wife off at the airport. He called me back and then said, like, tomorrow morning I'm going to go and check out again, and I will call you from there. So he called me from there, and then the girl came out. She had no idea what kind of paper she signed. He kind of like pre and then she literally got zero and kind of visa status, care in $0 came. So she stayed with us probably for 6 months, and my immigration hats off to her. I mean, it's I think what she does. All these domestic violence, she has done in the petition. I mean, she really proud of my wife on she on her Baba petition. So all very easy right now, the person. But it's more about that individual who bounced back. She's still in touch with us. It's almost like what three years now, I would just say. The homely environment, it kind of helped us to bounce back, because she's not, in a shelter where, with many other types of, abuses are there. Women, in shelter home, some got evicted. It's very for the back. Slade would just say, put on her foot, and she worked. She finished math business in India. Right, took a job in. She had to stay there for 10 hours a day, and then even they don't give her food, whatever that person, only they have. So she'll come, worked on it, and slowly we started introduce. That's part of the myth. What we do is we only take part, just kind of so thing. Try, I think. So Olga, you listen. Yeah, sorry. Listening is first and foremost, listen to them, and then we don't provide in this, we provide the also our contacts say can we get them a job. There are some excellent friends and then doctors in our family. We give them the mental help they need, and then our daughter, that's not a biological daughter. They will, if a woman cry, will take them do to cheer them up. Hey, just you come out of this. You attitude slow. Now, she from a restaurant there, he was able and then find we talk through text, which we paid, and then into the restaurant, they help her out. From there, she immediately moved out. Even should have been very comfortable in our house. She moved out and as a paying guest in another house while she was working in a restaurant. From there, I know we were places she will sleep on the floor, no mattress or like that for her. And then our friends gave her the mattress. So slowly she built it up. Now she's very successful. I would say still a little way to go for her. She got a boyfriend, so now she can trust and be together. She bought a home for her mother in India. In Bangalore, she bought a home, and so her she's very sick person. We had and everything. Person come, then get my wife or the amount she has, but that's success story. Like even she was every portion there is a month her on camera 24%. Why did you go to this room? When did you open? Right? So then with zero, and then waves back. That's huge story. And I would just say a success story. We can just go on and on and on. But, we just they're more stronger inside. Physically, based upon their physical thing, they can physically, I would just say, women wear heavy work, but women are much more, they're preserved. And then to deal with the situation and still cope up with the pain and come out of this, definitely kudos. It is like, it's not possible at all. I would definitely, it's a huge part of their success. Do probably providing from a frame for them to, but most so I will also tell them it's a great success story, like how she bounced back.
Thank you so much, Balaji, for the wonderful story. We can go on and on, as you said, but unfortunately, we are running out of time. So I'm going to give you the last question, and I will give you only a minute to two to wrap up this session. So the last question is like, what can be done for the future generation to change this current trends? So Balaji, you can start, and then we can go to others after you.
Okay,
thank you.
Definitely. And I think we discussed this point already, right? I think our next generation is much better. When I look at our daughters, our friends, kids, and everyone, right? They are much better. They're very vocal too. I think Olga said, I forgot who said that. It is not about raising only our boys. We also raise our girls in such a way that they have to look for those flags at early, right? At the early signs they need to look for. So that is the key. Raising our boys to respect women for who they are, what they are, not taking them for granted. That's the key part of it. Also for our girls to be, the next generation to be, look for those signs. The third aspect of it is, we always dependency is the key for them. So how can they be independent? Focus on the education, focus on the things you can do. And then the last thing I always tell our kids is, if you see something, say something. And most importantly, do something. Don't wait for the problem to come hit on your doors, because it's a matter of time. So either it is going to be a stranger or anybody. If you see, do something about it. Otherwise, if we don't have that compassion in us, we are actually like dirt on earth. Because we cannot problem in some going through, even though not in your family, just can't walk away from it. That is I would just say it's a disgrace. So I would say, like, I'm very lucky to have friends, families who, they're very helpful and hand on this one. That is, oh, this is quite a generation.
Thank you so much, Balaji. The floor is
Balaji, the words. Said, let's sure that for generation, let's make as a neighbor, as a colleague, make sure that you always have that openness to receive them with no judgment and just listen, because that's what they're going to learn. So it will listen to our children today. They will learn how to listen to their children and their friends and their people around them in the future. So it's not just our children and this generation, is making sure that the generations will just slowly getting better when we don't play roles that are male or female roles. All of us can do everything. There is no such a thing as a role that is from one or the other gender. Let's make sure that we understand that education is number one, that education allows you to have independence on your thinking and the way that you speak, and to have independence economically as well. But mainly, just make sure that they love themselves the best and the most.
Thank you. Thank you, Olga. Sable, the floor is yours.
Well, all has been said. Yes, so education is the most important thing for sure for the next generation, especially now that children, the new get to them. Of course, it has own, it also has a very impact on them in a way that can see what danger they can face. So yeah, education and policy is the most important thing for our children to prevent this from happening.
Thank you, Subhangi. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I would like to add one more point with teaching our children, our future generation, girls and boys. More than we say, they are watching us. They learn a lot from watching us. So when we talk about resilience, when we talk about how they should behave and whatever that advice that we give, are we walking the talk? Are we, as a parents, are we practicing at home? So this is very, very, very important. And the thing that we give advice, it's more like in life. And when I think most of it is done, future generation watching you follow your footsteps, because history repeats. Like that's how it goes, I think. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This I have said if I had to say, but I think all social ills, the solutions is that not one pack fits all. It'll be very highly individualized. As this is an initiative by the United Nations, the Sustainable Development Goal 2030, can we do something more than what we're doing now? I think to us who is much is given, much is expected. So if we could also really think a little deeper and, begin with communal initiatives and communal dialogues, and cannot ask for opportunities that
all have responsibility to take steps from our home. We kindly invite you all to plant a seed that grows and benefits us in the future. We will unite together to eliminate violence against women, respect them, and help them to live in dignity. I would like to thank our media partners, ETV Canada, America TV, USA, and this panel discussion today. And again, I thank all our panelists, audience, and our tech support. Thank you all for joining us. And our panelists, thank you. Thank you for all. Thank you. Great night.
Bye, guys. Happy holidays.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Thank you so
Happy
much.
holidays.
Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.
ரொம்ப நிறைய எஃபர்ட் போட்டு நிறைய நல்ல விஷயங்களை நல்ல கண்டென்ட் மக்கள்கிட்ட கொண்டு வந்து சேர்த்துட்டு இருக்கக்கூடிய தமிரிக்கா டிவிக்கு உடனே யூடியூப்ல அதை பார்த்துட்டு இருந்தீங்கன்னா அவங்களுக்கு சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணுங்க, கண்டிப்பா கமெண்ட் பண்ணுங்க, உங்களோட ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் கூட ஷேர் பண்ணுங்க, அண்ட் பெல் ஐக்கான மறக்காம கிளிக் பண்ணிருங்க.